it kind of signifies like football's around the corner.
Right.
We're doing these spring tours. We're doing the Texas Fight Tour. We've been in San Antonio. We've been in Dallas. We've been in Fort Worth. Now we're in Houston. And you're just getting around the fans. You're feeling the energy. It's been another exceptional year for Texas athletics, every sport, and I think that's inspiring. And so we get to celebrate all that. But for me personally, I know when we get through this kind of phase, my coaches are all on the road recruiting. Our players are back home right now. We ended spring semester. We don't start summer school until right after Memorial Day. But what it tells me is it's about to get real, because when we come back from Memorial Day, we start summer workouts. We start summer school. June is a huge recruiting month for us. And then that just leads us through July and August, and here it comes. And so it's a fun time. Again, you're not stressing over I have a game next week or a game in a month, so you get a chance to relax and enjoy your time with all the great support that we have.
How did things change maybe for you as it's no longer year one, it's not year two, you're into another off season, maybe starting with how you went about spring practice, the spring game, in preparation for what will end up being the final Big 12 season?
Well, I think like anything, anytime you take over a new job in year one, the old adage in the coaching world is it's like drinking out of a fire hose, right? I mean, there's so much coming at you in year one because, as coaches, I think we're pretty good at looking around corners, right, and seeing what's coming. In year one, you don't know what corner to look around because you just don't know. You don't know administration great. You don't know, how much orange tape there is to go through to get something done. You don't really know the facilities people. You're trying to figure so much out along with your own team, along with hiring a staff. You're trying to get to know those guys. So that year one is always challenging wherever you go. Year two, you start to find your groove a little bit. And then by the time year three rolls around, you got 2 feet on the ground. You feel very confident about what you're doing, especially if you're not making dramatic changes. Like we haven't had to make dramatic changes. We got a lot of great staff continuity. The players that have stayed in that time that we inherited, I think, are bought into what we're doing. And then we've got 2 now recruiting classes under our belt of players that believed in what we're doing, and that's why they chose to come. And in the end, it's setting up for this is our final year in the Big 12, and I'm glad you said it the way you said it, because that's what our focus is. So many times I'm doing interviews or I'm getting asked questions about the SEC, the SEC. The reality of it is, man, our goal is to go win the Big 12, and it just so happens to be the last year. And I think we've got a pretty good roster that gives us a chance to go do that. We got some good players. And so that's where our focus is. And we'll deal with the SEC when that comes. But, man, what a great opportunity we have now.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the SEC all the way until game
second
two.
Second game of the season.
But that's on a overall record.
Yep.
That's not in a conference record game. And that's going to be a heck of a ball game. I spent 3 years of my life coaching in Bryant-Denny Stadium for Nick Saban. And so it's going to be a great environment. They'll do a heck of a job. Their fans will be revved up, and their kids will be ready to play, and then the goal is to get our kids ready to play.
One question on that I thought our listeners would be curious about. We talked to Will Anderson last year when he was in town for the Lombardi Award, and obviously former Texans head coach Bill O'Brien and what's now the OC, and he talked about some of the dynamics with the coaches when you were at Alabama and players like Will Anderson and are on campus. And you know what their future probably holds if these players are putting in the work, and clearly that's exactly the type of player he is. From your standpoint, how would you describe a player like that?
Driven, focused. Will was that way from day one. I'll take credit for it now. I nicknamed him the Terminator his freshman year in training camp. The guy just every play, he didn't pick and choose, who he was going against or what the period was. He only knew one way to go. And that's a guy who's driven. That's a guy who's focused. That's a guy who, it wasn't so much about making it to the NFL. It was how did he want to play that play. And I think that gave him a chance to not worry about what was down the road, but be the best version of himself each and every single day and put in the work to try to be better the next day than he was today. Those guys are, that's what you want. That's what we're trying to hunt for in recruiting every day that we go out.
Talking to Steve Sarkisian here on Sports Talk 790. You mentioned Nick Saban, and there's a lot of names. You can go down the list of coaching greats and the programs that they coached at that made them great, and they made the program great. You know how that works. And there's no shortage of pressure at the University of Texas. You know that when you go in to take the job. Are you able to block that out? So much chatter about, is Texas back, or are they going in the right direction enough, or are the things being done that need to be done? Do you just kind of, is that all noise to you? How do you handle that kind of talk at a program like this?
No, I think that's fair, and I think you said something in the very beginning of the question and the remark is that you have to know what you sign up for, right? I think that someone taught me a long time ago. You can take good news, you can take bad news. You hate surprises. And nothing here has been a surprise to me. I recognize the responsibility that you take on when you become the head football coach at the University of Texas. I knew that before I took the job. If I didn't think I could handle it, I wouldn't have taken the job. And so I think that that's the beauty of it. I was fortunate to get some decent exposure to high-profile jobs at the University of Washington and at USC. And probably the biggest thing I've learned is, to your point, you can't get caught up in what other people are saying and what other people are thinking or what other people are doing or their opinions of it. Because in the end, if you ride the emotional roller coaster of the media, the fans, things of that nature, one week you're the best coach ever. The next week you should be fired. And if you try to live life like that, man, you're not going to make it. You're just not going to make it. So I just try to put my head down, be the best head coach I can be the best inspiration I can be to all the people in our organization. I'm definitely, every day I'm humbled, I'm honored to be the head coach. But I try to make sure that I have a positive impact on all the people that I touch every day I go in that building. And so I don't really have time to worry about what everybody else is saying. I've got to focus on what we think is important and making sure we're putting forth the effort to improve in all facets.